Okay, so I was watching something today on TikTok, and it was one of my favorite creators, and she was counseling a woman who was saying that she she can't step into her power. She doesn't feel like she's ready. She doesn't feel like she's good enough. She doesn't feel like any of that thing, right? And the creator that did counseled her was is like the first thing she asked, are there believers in the house, right? And I was just like, okay, so I knew where it was going, because I, like I told you, my foundation is Christianity and Catholicism. So one of the things that, and this is going to be a little controversial for people, and once again, this is my opinion. I'm grown. I've lived this life. I know what life I've lived. So it's like, this is not to step on anybody's toes or step on your neck. None of that stuff. This is to make you see the bigger picture. Like, I need you to see the whole picture, not just one little snippet of it. Does that make sense? When I used to go to church, I was taught that everything I needed came from an outside source. Does that make sense? It came from something outside of me. It came from the spirit that's outside of me. It always felt disconnected. It did. For me, it always felt, like I said, this is my story. It always felt disconnected for me. And it always felt like there's something you're not telling me, because I started with Catholicism. I was a Catholic. I went to Catholic school. That's why my penmanship is so good. I went to Catholic school, and from kindergarten to eighth grade. So we had religion books. Like, so I know, I know what I'm talking about. We had religion books, penmanship books. You had to sit with your hands like this. Everyone who went to Catholic school, you probably at some point catch yourself sitting like this, because that's how you had to sit when I went to Catholic school. And I always felt like something was missing. Like, because we would go to church, or mass is what they would call it. We would go to mass in and out in an hour. And I was just like, something feels like it's missing, right? And when I got older, and I was probably in my 20s or something like that, I went to a Christian church. And everybody who knows churches, a Catholic church and a non-denominational Black African church with a bunch of West Indians is a completely different ball game. So that's where I ended up. So I went there, and the pastor, we called him the apostle. The pastor that was there, he was a dynamic teacher. I will never take that from him. He was a dynamic teacher. He could teach his ass off. And he taught life skills. He did. He taught life skills using the Bible. And a lot of preachers do it too. And I would watch him, but I still felt like something wasn't being told to me. I just felt like something wasn't being told to me, because he talks about the L factor, where God gives it to him and then he gives it to us. And I was just sitting there, and it just didn't sit well with me. And I was just like, why do I have to go to someone else to get my message? He has a whole bunch of people. That's a lot of people to get messages for, and I was just like, I don't understand how that works. And everyone who knows me knows I'm a scientist, so we investigated. So I was just like, something's not right. I don't quite understand, like, how this is going. So I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna listen to what he's saying, and I'm gonna apply it to my life. And I applied every single thing, even the submission part. I applied every single thing he taught to my life, and my life did change. My life got better. I had more discipline, more progress, all that stuff. But something was missing. And I was just like, okay, something's not right. And then I got to a point with that church that the sermons started to repeat. So the lessons started to repeat. And I was like, we learned this lesson already. And, but the reason, and people be like, oh, see what I'm talking about? No, the reason why he kept redoing lessons wasn't because he ran out of material. It was because a lot of the people in the congregation weren't doing what I was doing. They weren't taking what he said and using it in their life, because if you did, he would see your life change. I went from being on welfare to making like 60 grand a year. You understand? So just by applying his teachings, you understand? So, but like I said, something was missing. And I'm like, okay, what's missing? And then once the sermon started to repeat, and just things was like, one thing with my spirit team, they they're like, who moved my cheese? It's like they'll have the writing on the wall. They're like, yeah, it's time for you to go. We're winding you down and disconnecting you. It's like they just start unplugging shit. Like, nope, you don't need that relationship anymore. Nope, you don't need that relationship anymore. If that's happening to you, they're getting ready to move you. That's what it is. They're closing you out. That's what it feels like. It felt like a closeout. And they were just like, okay, turn the light, call Con Edison, turn the lights off. You understand? So I was watching it and I was just like, okay, I think I've outgrown this and I'm not supposed to stay here. Does that make sense? I'm not giving anyone any advice. I'm just telling you what happened to me. I knew that it was time for me to go. Not because anybody did anything to me, not because, oh my God, I ran from this, not because of any other reason except it was time and I outgrew it. Because I was just like, okay, I'm not learning anything anymore. I'm not growing. I'm going to be stuck here. And I didn't like where I was. So I was like, okay, I left and I was lost for a while. Not I wasn't lost, I was loading. I was loading for a while and it was just like spiral. So I had to heal from a lot of anger when it pertained to church and the people in it. So I had to heal from that. And there was a lot of things that went on that wasn't okay. You understand? That wasn't okay, that made church taste bad in my mouth. And it just didn't sit well, right? All the while I was like, something's not right. I'm missing something. And this was before me being able to hear spirits. The only spirit I believed that I heard at that time was the Holy Spirit. And it was funny because I was just like, damn, does the Holy Spirit talk to everybody this much? Because it was like I woke up and they started talking. So it was just like, damn, does everybody talk to the Spirit? And I asked a couple of my friends, I was like, do you hear the Holy Spirit? And they were like, sometimes. I was like, sometimes? And they're like, yeah, sometimes, when I'm going in the wrong direction or I'm doing stuff. And I was just like, well, goddamn, maybe something's wrong with me. Because I kept hearing it all the time. And I not only heard it all the time, I heard it about different people. Like, I would hear shit and I'd be like, I don't feel that way, but I would hear it. It was the weirdest shit, but that's for a different video. So when I left, there was a lot of healing that needed to be done around spirit altogether. And it was crazy because this will tell you, you can get knowledge from anyone. My ex-husband said to me, what you have to understand is, and like I said, this is just what I was told, God is just named differently in the different religions. It's all the same thing. And I looked at him and I was just like, oh God. And then I didn't study, because I will never lie to you. I didn't study other religions, but I started to like see different religions and see how they operate. And it's all the same grounding principle, love. It's literally love. And once you have love, everything else falls into place. You understand? But it starts with love of yourself. Starts with love of self, not love of others. That's where a lot of the I feel. I'm always saying I feel. This is not biblical. This is not scientific. I feel that's where the disconnect starts, because like I said in the beginning of this video, it always felt like it was outside of me, outside of this vessel, whatever this vessel is. It always felt like they were teaching me that what I needed was outside and I had to beg for it. That's the part I didn't like. I don't know if it's the Aries rising or the Scorpio, but it's like, it might be the Capricorn. I'm like, why do I gotta beg you to give me what you said is already mine? I gotta beg you for it. We're not playing these games. Not Parker Brothers. Like, what are we doing? I didn't like it. I'm from New York. I don't like shit like that. I didn't like it. And I was like, yeah, this doesn't make sense. And then it's like you had to idolize someone who, on the one hand, earned it, but in on the other hand, couldn't maintain it. When someone gives you honor, that is a privilege that you have to maintain. Just because you didn't, just because you can do miracles, just because you can heal people, just because you can change lives, does not mean you get to be an asshole. And not the nice ones. You understand? It's not, you can't treat people poorly because you're gifted. Do you understand me? I don't treat people poorly because I'm gifted. I treat people poorly because I need to let bitches know that I'm not a fucking game. Does that make sense? I The only time you see me come out of the love and light character that I am is when people try to play me. I've said this on different videos. I am a very sweet person. I am sweet. I am kind. I am not nice. I am not a nice person. And if you believe that you can talk to me or treat me any which way, you're going to get the scorpion, and not the dove of the scorpion. You're going to get the scorpion, because it's like the empire will always be protected. I didn't protect the empire before, and I'm the empire. You understand? I didn't protect the empire before, and I allowed people to treat it and talk to it and run amok and break shit and not fix it. We're not playing those games. We're not playing those games. You understand? So let me get back to where I was. But that hopefully someone who actually needs this and not the amen corner is watching that, especially that part. As a healer myself, as a person who can speak to people and their lives change, I I am not a jerk. I am not a bad person at all. I practice being a good person. I make choices with you in mind. I make choices with you in mind when I write something, when I make a book, when I make a deck. It's not just me that I'm thinking about. And it's not about me making money. That's probably why I haven't sold anything. But it's not about me making money off it. It's me having something that makes your life change. Hold on, that's my alarm. I'll be right back. And I'm back. I don't edit my videos, so that's gonna be on. That is actually, maybe that's for someone who needs help. That is my alarm to stretch, and because I've been doing calisthenics at home, so that's my alarm to stretch and to work out. Look at my arms. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So that's the alarm to remind me, hey, it's time to stretch. It's time to do something. Even if I'm watching TV and I'm just doing this, because this, from what it's like defining, like, I don't know how to turn into a workout video, but this is defining my shoulders, just by doing this. You don't got, and then think about it. If you go to the gym, you doing that all the time. So what you need to do, or what I do, because I don't tell you what to do. What I do is I pretend in my head, no, I visualize in my head like a 50-pound weight, and then I pull it. So your mind doesn't know the difference. But anyway, back to the original program. So yes, I love my shoulders. But yeah, thank you. So yeah, so don't be a jerk. That was the before the alarm. Don't be a jerk. God, to whom much is given, much is required, and you got to be a good steward over what you came with, and what's in you. Anyway, so trust me, I promise you, I'm gonna get back to the girl and what she said to her and all that other stuff. So I always knew something was missing, and when I left church and I actually healed that part, I started to look within. I started to look within, um, and I started to watch different things. And I was just like, you can change, rewire your brain. Like you can. Joe Dispenza blew my fucking mind. I was just like, and then Abraham Hicks and like all these people who were like, it's in you. No one can do it. It's in you. And that's when I was just like, oh God, that's what's missing. Because once I realized the powers within, everything else they told me made sense. Everything else connected. I kept saying there was something missing. The part that's missing was me. You understand? The part that was missing was me. Because what happened is, like I said, they kept telling me it's from an outside source. You get a husband, you submit, and he'll take care of you for the rest of your life. That doesn't always happen. You got to make sure you get the right one. You understand? And it's just like all those things. It was an outward projection of it. You understand? It was an out. It was always going outward, and I realized that if I don't show up in my life, and if I don't make the necessary changes, and if I don't use the spirit within me to push forward, to want something, to know what I want, you understand? I'm never going to get it. You understand? Also, if I don't clear all the stuff, all the old codes, the bad codes, the shit that people put on you, the curses, the spells, the evil, whatever they call the evil eye, and all that other stuff. If you don't clear that stuff out on top of that, no amount of self-help and loving yourself is going to work. You got to clear it out. You have to go back into that memory, find the lesson, clear whatever pain is there, clear whatever codes are there, and pull that shit out. That's what you need to do. That's what I did. Like I told you, I don't tell you what to do. I tell you what I did. That's what I did. And that's what I'm still doing because I'm not done. So it's like, now getting back to the creator that I love, when the lady stood in front of her and said, I'm paraphrasing, but she was pretty much saying, I don't believe in myself, she didn't say I ain't shit, but it was like, yeah. And she looked so defeated, right? She looked very defeated. The first thing she asked is if there were people like, when they say, are they believers? That means it's Christians. Christians use that term all the time. So I was just like, oh, she's going to put a Jesus blanket over it. That's what I call it. No disrespect to Jesus, no disrespect to anyone. This is what I call it. I call it the Jesus blanket. But don't get it twisted. A Jesus blanket is the most coziest shit you can ever have on you, because a Jesus blanket is warm. It's cuddly. It makes you fall asleep. It heals. It appears to heal your heart, and it helps you get up the next day and go to fucking work. Don't get it twisted. I'm not making fun of Jesus. Jesus is my homeboy. You understand? It's like, I'm saying that putting a Jesus blanket on top of someone who is bleeding does not stop the wound. And don't be like, oh, but Jesus, that's not, yeah, stop it. You understand? Putting a Jesus blanket over someone doesn't stop the hurt. Better yet, putting a Jesus blanket on someone doesn't remove the hurt. You understand? It doesn't remove it because the person hasn't faced it. What you do not face will remain. What you do not conquer will continue to come back. You have to lay it out. You got to put it in the ground and let that thing dissolve and never come back. Do you understand? That's how this game works. You can't, I'm gonna just have a good day at church and then come home and be miserable. I've done that. I'm not even talking about you. I'm talking about me. I've done that. It doesn't work. It does not work. And even when I applied what I was told, shit still didn't work. And it didn't work until I realized I'm the mover. It's me. You understand? I have to rewrite the codes. I have to clear. I have to do the clearings. I have to write the books that for me to understand that people leave. Some people stay, other people leave. Some people are supposed to be in your life to teach you something, which is karmic. They say karmic is bad. It's not always bad. You understand? Karmic just means test, not test, lesson. That's what being a karmic is. They're here to teach you a lesson. It's not sunshine and rainbows. Not at all. Or it might be sunshine and rainbows, but it'll still trigger you because it needs, like, if you find a good person who loves you, that wants to take care of you, if you have parts in you that is not healed, you will run because you don't trust it. That's karmic. Does that make sense? At least that's my definition of it, but I digress. So she asked if they were believers. Everybody was like, yeah, da, 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 right? And then she proceeded to take a good 5 minutes, maybe 3 minutes, and just talk to the woman about how good God is and how he, like, moves mountains. It's not for you to do, it's for him to do. It's not for this. And it was just like, and I sat there and I remembered being her, being both women. I remember being the woman speaking to her, and I remember being the woman who was spoken to. Neither of those two versions of me was healed. They were it was like being on a hamster wheel. You understand? And it got to a point where it was like, I gotta stop this. This is not right. You understand? And I know I'm a bit all over the place because I'm trying my best to be as respectful as possible, because this is my foundation. This is not something that I'm like, oh, you don't need it. No, everybody should have a foundation of some other type of religion. That's a blueprint. That's the way that you can get to know who you are, sort of, in the spirit. And then like I told you, once I found that the other element, everything else clicked into place. So anyway, the lady talked to her about just God, like how God is and how good he is and how he took you out of here, and and I sat there and I was sad. I was sad for the woman that she was speaking to, because I know, being her, she's going to go home and she's going to pray. She's going to pray. She may do stuff. I don't know her. She may do stuff. She may not. But she doesn't know that the power is within. The power is not without. You understand? And it's just like, the woman didn't ask her, why do you feel? She did say, I thought, I almost skipped over this part. I thought she was, I thought she had it, because the first thing she asked her was, who told you that? And I was like, good, because then you can go into, like, and pull that shit out. And then that's when she went into God, and and she put a Jesus blanket over it. For me, what I would have asked the woman is, like, where did you get that from? Like, what makes you feel that way? She didn't unpack anything. All she did was cover it. When I counsel people, we got to unpack it. That's why a lot of people don't. That's why I really probably don't have that many friends, because if you come to me and you're telling me you have an issue, especially with being seen or doing something, the first thing I'm going to do is start unpacking it with you. Okay, you don't need this understanding that your mother said that you ain't shit that day. Pull it out. That thing that happened when you were 13 and your mother said you're not college material, we're going to pull that out. We're going to throw that out. We don't need that. And we start unpacking it. You have to ask questions, not make statements. My son, Jaden, explained that to me. He was like, the first thing he told me is you have to let people just say how they feel and just let them get it out because they need to get it out. And he was like, and then after that, you, I'm sorry. Yeah, Jada said that, and someone else said, you got to ask questions. You got to ask questions. You can't make statements. And that's what she did. She assumed that telling the woman how good God is would help her in the not just today. What we're doing isn't the clearings that we're doing is not just for today and tomorrow you fall into the same issue. That's not what we're doing with this. We clear you today, whatever that particular thing was happening in your life, it won't happen again. Not, I have to explain that better. Not that it won't happen again, but say for instance, I have trapped emotion in my legs because of an insecurity, right? Once I clear that particular insecurity that I got because someone called me fat, you understand? That insecurity won't come back. There might be other insecurities because I've lived here a pretty long time. So a lot of stuff has happened. So there's like things compounded on top of each other, but that won't be the same thing. And then you'll start to feel lighter. You'll start feeling like you unpack shit. You understand? But you have to face it. If you don't face what you're doing, or what's happening, or people in your life who needs to leave your life because they're not healthy for you, or working with you, they're actually working against you or stalling you, you're going to stay stagnant and you're going to keep having the same problem. And then you're going to turn around, if you're that type of person, and be like, oh, God doesn't hear me. There's no such thing as God. No, that's not true. You understand? That's not true. God is in you. You are the God within. It's literally there. You understand? So it's just like the spirits, you have been assigned a spirit squad. You have so much detail. It is insane. Depending on your mission, that determines your detail. You understand? So it's just like telling people that they don't have the power to change their lives is a problem. It is a problem, and it's something that needs to stop. We have complete control over what happens in our life and what we need to fix and how we fix it. You just got to get off your ass and do the work. It's not fun. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not fun. It's not fun at all. It's isolating. I completely missed my finger. It's isolating. It hurts at times. Your face looks exhausted. You get bags under your eyes. You can't fucking sleep. Your teeth start hurting because you're opened up and you're cleaning everything out, and then you're scrubbing shit and doing all that other stuff. This is not fun. Everybody's not going to do this. And there's no way you're going to tell me everybody's going to do it, because this shit hurts. It hurts. It hurts to heal. That is something nobody really talks about. It hurts. And this thing, oh, it's don't say it's hard. Fuck you. It's hard. This is hard. It's hard. It hurts. It's lonely. It's isolating, because they can't let you loose to the world because you're still healing. And if you go out too early, you're going to get rocked, and you're going to have to come back and rebuild again. I've done that. It's not fun. I've jumped in front of spirit, and I got rocked, and I had to go back. And they were like, stop skipping steps. They were like, yes, you're lonely, you're isolated, whatever, but you got to go through this gauntlet before you get to over here. Because once you get to over here, we can't make you go back again. So you gotta go forward, and you gotta go through this stuff. The fucking desert and the mud and the valley, whatever the fuck you want to call it, it's not fun. Everyone is not going to do it. But if you're looking and watching me, especially if you watch this crazy ass video to this point, 100%, you're on that team. You're on my team. You understand? But it's going to be a long, hard road. But the quicker you start, the quicker you're finished. But if you're sitting there going, "Oh, I don't want to hurt. I'm tired. I don't want to do this." Trust me, I've done it. Like I tell you, I there's probably almost nothing that you've done that I haven't done. I've put off my healing and put it off and put it off and put it off. And it got to a point where it was just like, okay, I can't put this down anymore. I gotta actually go forward with this. And it's hard. It's hard. Some days are better than others. Some days everything clicks. Everything clicks. You feel like you're in a fairy tale. You feel like birds are coming to you and just singing in your ear. And then there are other days where it is the craziest shit that goes on. I call those lesson days. You're looking around going, I think I'm going to drown. And it's like, and then your spirit squad pulls you up at the last minute. And it's like, when those days happen, you got to find a lesson. If you find a lesson, you'll get through it quicker. I'm telling you from experience. If you find a lesson, learn the lesson, apply the lesson, they'll let you out. I'm just telling you what happens to me. When I learned the lesson, like when I find the lesson and I learn the lesson, well, me, I have an extra step. When I find a lesson, learn the lesson, apply the lesson, and teach the lesson, that's when it kind of goes out. And that, for me, I don't know about other people, but for me, that's what it is. But I don't know if there's a moral of this video. I don't know if there's a moral of this video. It was just more along the lines of telling you, look, religion is good, belief is good, but the belief must first start within yourself. You have to make sure you know you have the power within to change your world. You create your own reality. So what reality are you creating? You understand? All right. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Stay up, stay blessed. Deuces, and we out.